2004, you made the permanent switch to Yeovil. Similar sort of time that Harry Redknapp came in at Southampton. Were those discussions to move on? Were they happening long in advance? Was this something that you were preparing for?
Yeah, they were. So, long story short, the old scout that took us to Southampton, Rod, who's a top man, he sort of arranged a game for me, or Gary Johnson got in touch with him and said there's a game he wants to have a look at me, etc. And over Christmas period, there was no games in reserves. I think it was a month with no games. So I went to play a game for Yeovil. We played Bristol Rovers away on the Tuesday, I think it was. Gary said, "Look, get in my car. I'll take you back to the ground. I want to have a chat with you." So I had a chat all the way back, and on the Thursday, I'd signed. So it was, yes, it's as quick as that. You go from, I was fairly comfortable at Southampton, surrounded by, all my pals and comfortable surroundings. Just literally pack your bag and you're gone. And then, the Thursday night, I was living above a sort of a pub stroke hotel in Yeovil, and I go in to train, on the Friday. And I thought that'd have been a loan, but that was a permanent switch. But no, that was the best thing I ever done. Looking back, I didn't even have time to think about it. It was just like this had come up, take the opportunity, and like I said before, I know it. I was living above a pub. And sort of the rest is history. But no, I loved that. And then I was pretty sure I signed on the Thursday, trained on the Friday, went out to play Leyton Orient, and ended up nicking the winner that day, which was good. I remember that clearly. And then we had the Christmas do that night. So, I thought, here we go. This is the life sort of thing. I fancy a bit of this.
Yeah, let's talk about that winning goal you scored against Leyton Orient for Yeovil on your debut. I mean, what a way to introduce yourself to the fans.
Yeah, we were 2-0 up at half time. I think Phil Jevons come off. I'm pretty sure it was, because I went up top anyway. Then we went to 2-2. So I thought, oh no, I'm not having the best effect on this game. And then last couple of minutes, ball fell on the edge of the box and bent it in the bottom corner and ran straight over to the fans. And Mum and Dad were there, and a few pals as well. So no, that was top draw, that, and it was. It's always nice to score last minute winner, but the lads were going sort of bonkers, and it was a good way for me to settle, to be fair. And then we were straight out on the Christmas do after. So
yeah, we've got to speak about that Christmas do, Aaron. Come on.
Yeah, no, that was good. Obviously, Paul Terry was at Yeovil, obviously John's brother, so he sorted that out in London. So that was a good night as well.
Any stories that you can say or not?
Oh no, it's not, all well behaved. It was all well behaved. John was there. He come along. So no, it was really good. It's just like a the best sort of icebreaker you can ask for in terms of the Yeovil lads, and because that team had been together a few years, they'd won promotion from the conference and stuff, so they're a real sort of tight unit. And to be fair, that goal and that night sort of settled me down, and they really welcomed and took to us.
Yeah, you talk of the camaraderie there within the team. I mean, what did you make of Yeovil at the time, both as the players around you and also the fans as a club as a whole?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. I think Yeovil was probably my favourite time. Probably well, in fact, it was where I played my best football. I absolutely loved it. It was like fairly chalk and cheese to my time at Southampton. You had, top surroundings, anything you sort of asked for, you got at Southampton, and you literally had to have a fight to get a sort of raincoat at Yeovil. But it was top draw. Everyone bought into it, and it was just the banter was top draw. Yeovil was a fairly small place, so we used to go out for dinner together every day after training. We'd nip into town and coffees, etc. So it was really tight, and we had good players as well, by the way, real good squad. And a manager that was really demanding, and even if you're doing well, he was still on your case, and if you weren't, he was on your case even more. So he was sort of drumming it into us. I had good players. I really enjoyed my time there. And then over the years, that sort of team dispatched, and a lot of them went on to earn moves, rightly so. And we sort of had a new team under Russell Slade as well.
Yeah, of course. Just talking about 2004-2005 season, crowned champions of League Two. What were your favourite moments of that very successful year?
Yeah, that was top draw. I loved that. And like you say, that was, you're sort of on the fence of leaving Southampton. You're thrown into it, and within 5-6 months, I've got my first sort of medal and a championship medal, champions medal, not championship. And I wish I won the championship. So that was just the reality of football. Just 3 points, and points obviously leading to where you finish up in the table. I absolutely loved it and took to it massively. Like I say, I really enjoyed my time at Yeovil with some top lads as well, and then good management. Everyone behind the scenes as well. You know everyone. It's a small place. Everyone behind the scenes were top drawer, and I can't speak highly enough of my time at Yeovil.
Any particular game that stands out?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't answer your question there, did I? Yeah, the debut goal was, I think that's up there, just because it's everything you sort of work for, and to do it, on your debut and an important game as well, and then the Christmas do after, I think, sort of topped it off. I also enjoyed another goal. In the cup we played Charlton. They was doing really well in the Premier League at the time, and Gaffer threw us on, and I got a goal there. Sadly, we lost. I should have scored another to make it 3-3, which made it interesting. But I really enjoyed that as well, because that was sort of me looking at players from a higher level and thinking, I can get there as well. I always believed I could get back up the football pyramid. I just needed the opportunity, and I believe I took it at Yeovil, to be fair.
Did you obviously, Aaron? It's no mean feat. Obviously, winning the league. It's not a lot of players can obviously come on here and say, yeah, they've won a league title, and it's obviously a very, very difficult thing to do. Did you always have that belief in the dressing room that you would go on and get promoted, or was the aim was that no, we're going to go and win the league this year?
No, it was promotion. Even Gary, when he drove us back after that Bristol Rovers game, it was promotion. He was talking about the year after. He's like, when we get promoted, it's just when. He sort of drilled it into the lads so much, he didn't even think of anything else. Yeah. And even the last game of the season, we played Lincoln, and that was quite a good game to have, actually, because they were all like 6'5", and they were just horrible to play against that year. Yeah. They couldn't move in the playoffs, so they were. I'm not saying they were down in tools by any means, but I'm sure they were probably just thinking playoffs. And I knew one or two of the lads there, sort of thing, and we had to win, just to rubber stamp the league. A few results went our way anyway, so we perhaps didn't have to win it. But that sort of last game of the season was something on it. It was a good feeling. Even after that, I remember Steve Wigley ringing me. He was my coach, and he said, "Look, you won a medal there. So like you just said there yourself, like a lot of players go for their whole career without having that achievement. So to do it so soon was top draw."
Because just looking back at the results, Aaron, you can see kind of where you'd bounce back, and to be honest, you were going to go on and win it, because you lost 2-0 to Russian and Diamonds. That put you second on the 2nd of April, and then literally about seven days later, you went and beat Mansfield 5-2 at home. Do you think that was kind of the bounce back ability in that squad that allowed you to be so successful?
Yeah. Look, the gaffer was very demanding, but all of his players were. He'd been around them lads for a long time, and they didn't even think anything else. I remember the lads now, like Terry Skiven, Paul Terry, Lee Johnson, Darren Way, that they wouldn't let you have a second's rest, even in training. They just like Rottweilers, and they just didn't give you a second, which was good. But we was all like that. We all had different sort of ways about us. Like Phil Jevons, myself, were different characters to them, but we had a real good blend. And look, they were hard to play for sometimes, because they're so demanding, which you want. But after every game, if you did well, they were sort of first to give you a tap on the back as well, sort of thing.
You had a decent year, obviously, in League One the year after. You scored a hat-trick against Chesterfield. What's your recollection of that first year in League One with Yeovil?
That was. It felt like we was in a relegation battle throughout that season, but I never actually seen it as that. I always thought we'd be okay, but you always, when you're towards the bottom, you're kind of looking over your shoulders a little bit. But obviously Gary Johnson left that year, so that sort of was a bit of a test for us. But no, I felt we was fine, and individually, like from a selfish point of view, I had a decent season as well. Got the hat trick that season, which sort of got me sort of on people's radars, sort of thing. But that was mixed emotions, that game, because my main memory of that game was going to see my my best mate, Anthony Barry, after the game. He twisted his kneecap and dislocated his kneecap that game. So although I wanted to sort of celebrate, and I was buzzing for the hat trick, and actually Tommy Docherty come on loan, I think he broke his leg that day as well.
Wow.
It was his first
Oh,
game on loan. Yeah, so that was mixed emotions. And I
Yeah, I
remember just
bet.
going to the hospital after and seeing Baz sort of thing, we'll wrapped around the bed, and he was just buzzing for me, just sort of grabbed me and give me a hug and said, "You got a hat trick," and I'm like, that sort of sums him up. He was in bed, with all his family wrapped around him, just to waiting to go and have an operation. He was sort of
Yeah.
buzzing for me, but yeah, it
Wow.
was sort of mixed emotions that day, from that point of view.
Fast forward a year, then you managed to get in the playoffs this time. Obviously, you just spoke about just then about you it was kind of a bit of a relegation battle, but you never kind of felt like that there was ever one. What flipped the following year to then make you promotion contenders?
Yeah, well, we had a decent turnover of players, so that playoff team sort of, it just fitted.
Yeah,
Everyone like knew their roles. We perhaps didn't have the best players in the league in our positions, but we just like, I'll sum it up, like we had Terrell Forbes and Terry Skivens, our two centre halves. Skivo, won everything in the air, and anything that he did miss or was slipped down the side, Terrell Forbes. It was just like perfect combinations all over the
yeah.
pitch. I had Nathan Jones that played behind me, and he was the fittest man in history running down the wing. I'd cut inside, never give him the ball and shoot, and he'd take my head off. But he was, he sort of got me my move, because he was the fittest man that I've come across. So we just had combinations like that all over the pitch, that just worked. We had like Lee Morris that was absolutely brilliant, but we just couldn't keep him fit. Marcus Stewart, and then that season, the team more or less picked itself, and then we had the additions: Martin Craney come on loan, and Leon Best, and I think they were both at Southampton at the time. I might be wrong, but if we'd kept them, I think we would have won the league. And that's where Bestie was an absolute fire. I think he scored 10 in 10, and that sort of give him the the platform to go on and kick on, have the career that he had, and fully deserved as well, because he's a top talent and top lad. But we fell short a little bit. Well, obviously at Wembley we fell one game short, but we were just out of legs come that game. We had people that weren't fit. One of my best mates, Chris Cohen. I forgot to mention he was our best player by a mile. He was like outstanding that season, but he needed double hernia. He come off. I think he come off in the semi-final against Forest, and had to come off in fact, he did come off in the final. But he was sort of injured. Anthony Barry was struggling with an injury, but was our man of the match at Wembley. I didn't train. I don't think I trained once from the second leg of the semi-final to the final. We were just battered and bruised for that game, and we got slapped off Blackpool. We got slapped.
Yeah, sum up your emotions. Sum up your emotions during those playoffs, because obviously you scored twice against Forest.
Yeah.
And then obviously, that day at Wembley as well. Kind of sum up the playoffs as a whole, if you can.
Oh, the playoffs! I loved them. I was absolutely buzzing from the first leg at Forest. We lost 2-0, but we felt we were the better team. I'm pretty sure they had two penalties that were fairly dubious. But even after that, I still felt that we was in that game. And Russell Slade's from Nottingham. He's a Nottingham Forest fan. All the talk building up to the second leg was, look, just keep their fans quiet. If we score an early goal, like, anything can happen there. And it did. That 5-2 game was unbelievable. It's probably the game I'm sort of known best for. But no, it was an unbelievable game. That was mental. But it took a lot out of us, that. And like I say, we were just nursing too many injuries before Wembley. And Blackpool absolutely did a job on us.
Yeah, I mean, it was the team you faced in the playoffs, Nottingham Forest, who you ended up moving to the following year. Was that performance from you, a bit of an advert to them, to say, that gained obviously you signing for them later on?
Yeah, I think so. I believe there was interest from them in me and Chris in the January as well. But which I wasn't aware of. I only knew that when I went and actually signed for Forest, and they told me that. But yeah, I think it was. And that more or less there was a few clubs that wanted us both, and I think from my memories from that playoff game was just leaning me massively towards Forest. Obviously, just good memories of playing there. But every time you played Forest, it was sort of the biggest game of the season, and there was a lot of fans even after the game that was sort of clapping us off the pitch. And there was a few that weren't mine. There was a few that were giving us a bit of grief. But my memories of the Forest fans, the ones that stayed, were just like top draw. And even after that, we stopped in the Asda, which ended up being my local for shopping. Like the year after, we stopped in the Asda to get a few drinks for the way back, and there was Forest fans coming up just then, just saying, look, like top draw, and sort of wishing us well for the final. Whether they meant it or not, I don't know, but it was quite surreal that I ended up, like, literally 4 months later, that was my local place to go shopping, sort of thing.